45 days isn't a very long time to create an anime, so the first few days are very important to make sure things run smoothly, hopefully. With that in mind, I spent the first day just finalizing the story, the storyboards, and the concept art, so that the next following days I could just focus on creating the animations. I kept the story extremely simple. This is more about me getting experience with animation, as well as showcasing something that is more just visually appealing. With that said, I did have a small story just so that I could have a seamless flow between scenes and that it felt like it was a purposeful animation and not just something that was randomly thrown together scene by scene. The story takes place in a steampunk fantasy world where the ships fly using magical gemstones and the physics of their flying capabilities are much like Ghibli's, which is non existent. If it looks cool, I'm going to do it. I don't really care. I'm just more going for the aesthetic of what I want, not necessarily the realistic aspect. It is fantasy after all. There are three main characters, two brothers. The older is Dean, the younger is Sam, Supernatural fans. And then there's the older swordsman, Genzo. The younger one has a fascination with creating and piloting small airships of his own design. And with the help of others, he has designed his own airship. This is the one that is called the Donut. The older brother Dean is not nearly as interested in aeronautics. He is more interested in swordplay and becoming a great warrior. He has been taken under the wing by Genzo, the sword master, and he is a pretty skilled swordsman in his own right, though he still has a long ways to go since he's not seen actual combat. The two brothers, they work as mechanics on the observatory ship. Now the story is that during their travels, a small gemstone of strange origin and power has been found. Dean overhears the scientist talking with the captain of the ship about using this gemstone for nefarious purposes. Dean feels obligated to do something about this. Genzo doesn't believe him, and so he and Sam turn to stealing the gemstone and trying to flee. During the process of fleeing, Dean has successfully gotten the gemstone, but Sam is unfortunately forced to launch the donut from the back of the observatory. So now Sam is outside of the observatory ship flying the donut, and Dean is inside. Dean is trying to flee from everyone else, and that is where our animation begins. So on day 2, I wanted to animate something that both had a feel of starting the animation, so it would give me motivation, and I also wanted to do something that I just was really looking forward to. And one of those things was animating the donut ship. I just think it looks fun, and it's neat, and I wanted to see it moving. So I started with a oval shape, and I just placed it along keyframes. I think I had about 5 of them. And then I followed that up with drawing over that oval the shape of the donut hall. Once I had the shape, I animated all the in-betweens with just the shape of the hall. I went over that, added the mast shape, and then I also added the outline for how far the blades and the outline of where the outer of blades were spinning. Once I had the outlines for all the parts, I was able to go on and just draw the ship for each of the frames. Then I animated some cloud breaking, did a very short concept art of a mountain nightscape, added that as a backdrop, and there we go. I have a test footage of something that resembles at least an idea of what the final version is going to look like. So on day 3, I wanted to animate Dean fleeing the ship. This is the first time we get to see Dean, and I really wanted to showcase his loss of movement and where he was going. He was just running for running's purpose. He didn't really have a goal because he didn't really think he had much of an escape. He just didn't want to get caught. So I started with him leaving the ship as just a little puppet character, and I did keyframes. Again, 5 to 8 keyframes is all I did. The primary poses to kind of get an idea of what I wanted the scene to look like. Then I went through and did in-betweens with that puppet character. Following that up, I did the finalized body line art for the entire run, in-betweens and keyframes. I animated the hair separately on a different layer because it was moving in the wind and I didn't want to have to worry about that during my first pass. I wanted to just get the main body movements down and then I could match the hair to that. Once again, with the background, I just made a very quick concept art. I will go through and make a final art piece later. Compiled with a little bit of sound, I now have something that gives me a good idea of what the final version could look like. Day 4 through 6 was spent on scene 7, and this is actually a little farther in. This is the scene where Dean has to decide whether to fight Ginzo or give up. Well, he chooses to fight and not to give up. This is a very tough scene for me, and probably one of the hardest that I'll be doing for this little animation, simply because there's not a lot of movement going on, which means I have to be a little bit more precise with everything. And also there's a lot of wind, which means the hair is being animated, the clothes are being animated. I have hand animations for both hands. And I also wanted to convey some sort of emotions with the face, some sort of anger and hopelessness that comes across, hopefully, and then resolve at the end. Same thing with this. Background is just a concept art. Final one will be done later. If you like the way that this is looking and kind of how this is going, I will be doing these update videos probably once a week. If you liked this video, a subscribe, a like, and a comment is super appreciated. And I can't believe how much support I've already gotten for just 1 week of doing this. It's just really fantastic, and it has been really encouraging to see. If you want to know how the story might end up, where this is going to be going, and what the final product is going to look like, well, I hope you follow along. I'll see you in the next video. 45 days isn't a very long time to make an anime.